Welcome. I'm Jennifer Jules. You can call me JJ. I'm a Canadian and French ceramicist.
Wait, this is actually part two of my attempt at a pit fire in Martinique. If you haven't seen part one, in which I go over the where, the why, and the how of the pit fire, click below.
I hope you enjoy the video.
After starting the fire, the plan was to let it burn strongly for at least 4 hours to make sure that it reached the right temperature. However, it started drizzling and I didn't want to lose the heat, so I covered it and let it die naturally while crossing my fingers. The next morning, I started unloading my makeshift kiln. I was half hopeful and half scared of breakage, but also of underfiring. And as I started unwrapping, I noticed right away that something was wrong. The aluminum foil was barely altered, which means that the fire hadn't reached the high temperatures that I was hoping for. I also think that I wrapped them a little bit too much. While some markings did appear, like smoke marks and flashes of black in the places where the fire had touched the clay, most pieces had not fully fired. I think part of me expected the fire to transform everything overnight, but I mean, primitive firings and alternative firings don't really work like that. This process is unpredictable, and honestly, that's part of why I wanted to try it in the first place. The next weekend, I was invited to join a group of local fishermen along the coast of Fort-de-France at Anscola. They go out several times a day in these small boats. Sorry, I got distracted by the pelican. This happens a lot. To catch fish that are later sold fresh at the market. Honestly, before that morning, I had never really thought about how much coordination and labor goes into a process like this. The men took the boat out on the water and then separated into several groups to have teams on the water and teams on the beach. Everything depended on timing, communication, and patience. While we were out on the water, Jean Ernest, the leader of the group, explained that fishing has become more difficult over the years. Fewer fish are coming back. He told me that large industrial fishing boats operating near St. Lucia, our neighboring island, are heavily impacting fish populations in the region. And even though these men work close to the coast in relatively small boats, they're the ones who feel the consequences directly. And despite all that, they still go out every day. There is something really moving about witnessing that kind of persistence and knowledge being passed through practice and through community. Once everybody was in their place, it was time to unfold the net. Once Jean Ernest gave the signal, and the long, tiresome task of pulling the net back to the shore could start. The fishermen have very strict guidelines. Anything that is not a fish gets thrown back into the water, like this super cute starfish.
C'est une petite pêche, là. Ouais.
Sea turtles are strictly protected by law in Martinique, so it is completely illegal to hunt them or capture them or eat them, obviously.
This is take two. I put into the fire 4 of the 5 pieces that I fired. I was not satisfied with the firing levels. The only one that I think turned out all right was this vase. Hopefully, you can actually see it. This vase, which was made with black clay, that ended up turning into the color that this clay is supposed to turn into once it's fired, and had some interesting colors. There's some yellow, there's some red, and obviously there's the black of the burned consumables. No, what's the word I'm looking for? Combustibles.
And then it rained again. Story of my life at this point. Another day, another mindset, hopefully a more positive mindset. I knew that I rebuilt the fire to burn for longer, so I let it die overnight and went to the market where I got those very cute earrings and made a new friend.
Il a quel âge? Là, bébé cabri.
Back at the community studio, I enlisted my mother, who is on the left in pink, to help me glaze the pieces that were going to be fired in the standard kiln. I am usually very, very generous with glazes, especially inside pots, because I really love how it pools and how it accumulates at the bottom of a pot. I love to see the variations that the glaze takes depending on how thick and thin it's been applied on each pot. unloading the kiln, take two. After the rain or the deluge, really, which is typical of the island in this season. To be honest, I reopened the pit, and it did feel different this time. The pieces were transformed somewhat. The clay had hardened properly. Some pieces came out dark and heavily marked, and others had softer flashes of gray and warm, earthy tone, I would say, earthy tones. It still didn't reach a high enough temperature, but it was so much better than the first try. After a quick cleanup, they were looking much better. I find it very cool how the fire leaves evidence of itself behind. You can actually see where the heat moved and where the ashes settled and where the atmosphere changed around the clay. It makes every piece feel less manufactured and more connected to the process that created it. Honestly, pit firing and any type of primitive firing teaches you very quickly that control is an illusion. This trip changed the way that I think about clay, and maybe also the way that I think about making in general. Working with clay is always wrapped in uncertainty, but I added a layer of it by learning from people and places outside of my usual routine. Thank you for following along. There's only a few of you here right now, but it genuinely means a lot to share these moments with people who connect with this type of work. Next time I'll be in Rio for my birthday. I'll see you there.
I like it here. It's nice and peaceful. The birds are on a trip though. Oh shit! My paper.